Now let's introduce a new item into our dashboard. We're going to get a chart. So I'm going to go ahead and move these over here. You can move these, you can resize these, whatever you want to do. Now we're going to make a chart from the pivot table. So in this case, I'm going to click on the pivot table. I'm going to pick on the Insert menu up top. Of course, the Analyze menu is what I meant to say. Analyze. Under the Insert menu, if I pick on Insert, that will be another way to get to the pivot chart, by the way, if you notice where I'm going. But just to stay consistent, I'll go back to the Analyze menu. And then I'll pick on the word pivot chart. Then you see all of your chart types. Now, in Excel 2016, they added some new chart types that never even existed before. So any one of those can work right now. So let's start with the column chart, and maybe we can do other kind of charts as well. So I'll pick on column, I'll pick on this first one, and I'll pick on OK. Now we add a chart into the mix. Move that over here. Now you can resize the chart. I'm just going to use the sizing handles to resize the chart. I'll move it up here. Move these over here. So you can move your windows around, of course. Resize them. All right. Now, it's going to work like any other chart. So let's say I wanted to have the numbers on each individual bar. Well, that's called a data label. To change your chart, here's one way. I'm going to click on the chart. I'll pick on the design menu for the chart. And then you say Add Chart Element. And then the numbers on the chart on each bar is called the data label. I'll pick on the word data label and I'll say outside end. And you see the numbers on the chart. Good. Now, why don't we give that a little bit more room? I'm just going to move these windows over so I can stretch this one out. That's better. You can see the numbers are on the chart now. So when we want the numbers on the chart, that's called the data label. So it works like any other chart. I can click on the chart, then I get two additional menus from the chart. I get design and I can get format. Now, another reason that the chart is like a pivot table is because over here, I can pick on the pull down where it says country, and then pick and choose the countries from the chart. By the way, you can do the same thing over here in the pivot table. So this is part of the dashboard, actually. It's another way to filter the data. So I'm going to click on the pull down where it says row labels. Then I can choose the countries from there. Or if notice, I can do that right from the chart. And then I can pull the countries from there. So let's try that. I'm going to uncheck it where it says select all. And I'll pick on Brazil, Canada, Finland, and France. So now we can see just those items. Now let's go further. Watch how the slicers are going to interact with the chart in the pivot table. See, now when I clicked on that name, the numbers changed on the pivot table, the numbers changed in the chart, everything is working together. And this is what Microsoft is starting to call the dashboard. Now I'm going to save this workbook. I'm going to say File and Save As. And we'll just call it Customers Dashboard. Good. All right, so you can see that up on the title bar of the spreadsheet, it now says Customers Dashboard. So so I always like to save. I've just been burned too many times by a computer, so I'm saving all the time, right? But we're getting some good progress here. But notice what I'm doing. I'm just clicking around the slicers. And then I'm getting instant results. I can also use the filter over here on the pivot table. I'll go back to select all. I can also use the filter on the actual chart, right? So people are getting instant results, showing the exact records that they're looking for. This is what we're calling a dashboard, all right? Very, very powerful features here. It's really bringing our data to life. Now I could even make a slicer out of the fields that are on the pivot table. There's nothing wrong with that. So why don't we add another slicer? We'll say Analyze, Insert Slicer. This time I'll use the company, how about the country, from the customers table. And now we have that slicer as well. And that would just be another way to pick the different data. Now, remember what I said. If you want to pick more than one from each column, you pick on the little check marks. Then I can pick more than one right from the slicer. So instead of using the filter, I can add the slicer for that field as well. But let's say I want to have the country up there. I'm going to go back to the pivot table. That gives us our field list over here. Then maybe I want to go back to it being by a different field. So I can remove country from the fields. Then in this case, maybe we'll use contact title and drag that into the rows. Good, now I have the contact titles. And then we can use the country from there. So I'm going to put this window away for a second. I'm just going to click over here and maybe move the country item over here. So now I have it by contact title, and then I can pick it by country or last name for the employee or company name for the shipper. Can you see the power of this? I can just get the exact records that we're looking for. And that's everything that we're calling a dashboard. Now I'm going to get everything back again. I'm going to click on the X on the slicer windows and get everything back. Excellent. Now we can see all of the different contact titles. Those also come from the customer table, of course. If you want to change the elements of your chart, then you can click on the chart and you can pick on the design menu and you can pick on the format menu, and you're probably used to those.